Morning, you join us here today at Barford Fisheries. We're on the Pleasure Lake. We're going to show you how to fish a pellet waggler and hopefully along the way catch some rather large carp. Right, well, I'm attached to a rather large angry carp here quite early on in the session, so I think we're going to catch a few fish today. Just talk you through the setup while I'm playing it. I've got a 12-foot Horizon Pro waggler rod. Gone for the 12-foot because I'm chucking a fairly long way, so that just picks the line up quicker on the strike. Got a 4000 Horizon reel with 020 Horizon line, which is £8. Although £8 sounds heavy, it's only 020, so it's still thin enough that it comes off the spool lovely for casting. So basically the setup is strong, robust, reliable, because I am expecting a very bad bit of netting because I'm talking. I'm expecting some very big carp today. This is only a small one by this lake standards. They go up to 20 pounds. So a strong, reliable, robust setup, and that's a nice start to the day. Let's get a bigger one. Right, so before I go back out and hopefully get another one, just quickly the setup. One of our new 6-gram pellet wagglers, loaded, got flights on it. For a loaded float, it casts brilliant, it lands brilliant. It is just a lovely float. As you can see, it's 6 grams, but that's the complete weight of the float. It's not 6 grams of loading, the actual float weighs 6 grams. So for a 6-gram float, it's very small, neat, compact. There's a bit of wind today, but it just cuts through it lovely and lands nice. Simply fixed on with one of our pellet waggler attachments, loop-to-loop hook length, and a size 14 MXC4 pre-tied with one of our bands. Let's get another one. As you can see, I'm attached to a rather large carp. This can obviously take 5–10 minutes to land. So when pellet waggler fishing, you have to keep that feed going in. So all the while you're playing the fish, you've got to carry on feeding. It's something, if you haven't done it before, that takes a little bit of getting used to. But what you've got to remember with carp is that if you stop pulling, they stop pulling. See, at the moment I'm putting some pressure on it and trying to pull it in. I couldn't feed at the moment because at any minute it could go, but if I take the pressure off, the carp stops pulling, so you've got all the time in the world to carry on feeding. If you're in a match or pleasure fishing a sort of lake that's fairly busy, if you're not feeding while you're playing that fish, people around you will be, and they'll pull your fish away from you. It's like I say, it takes a little bit of getting used to if it's not something you've done before, but take the pressure off, stop pulling, he'll stop pulling, and you've got all the time you want to feed, and then you can just start the battle again. We've talked about the setup and the tackle. Once you've got that right, the other vital thing for pellet waggler fishing is feeding. It's not just a case of continuously blasting as many pellets out as you can. You need to see how the fish are feeding on the day. Some days you'll chuck out and can catch with your bait hanging, so then you'll just keep continuously feeding over your float, maybe once every 10–20 seconds. Today, most of the bites are coming as it hits the water or within the first 5 or 10 seconds. So what I'm doing today is coming in, feeding maybe 4 or 5 8mm pellets. These are Barford fishery pellets. What I'm doing is feeding them and then instantly then casting back on top of them. The pellets plopping and coming in, draw the fish in, mine's then the next bait on it. Try and do that cast as quickly as you can after you've fed. The other thing to consider with feeding is I'm not doing it today because, as I've said, I'm feeding, casting, reeling in, feeding, casting. Days when you're feeding over your float, you need to keep control of your rod. You need to learn to feed while still holding the rod. Those bites can come at any time, and chances are it will come when you've got your catapult in your hand. So all I do is pinch some pellets in my fingers, leave my thumb and my forefinger free, drop them in and feed. I have my anti-reverse on, so literally I can just strike with those 3 fingers, and then obviously you just have to quickly click it off when you hook a fish, but you're fishing at fair enough range. There's enough give in the rod and the line that you'll have a few seconds. So that's something that will improve your pellet waggler fishing if you can learn to hold the rod and feed. Been fishing a couple of hours now, constantly feeding, and it's absolutely solid out there now, getting indications or bites, most chucks, often within seconds. It just shows the importance of keeping that feed going in and working hard. If you don't get a bite within about 10 seconds today, they're not having it with it sitting there hanging. You have to keep coming in and out. Most bites are within sort of 5 or 10 seconds of it going in. Because it's very deep here, it's like 12-15 foot deep. Sometimes on here you can catch sort of deep shallow, like sort of 4 to 6 foot, and on those days you can just chuck it out and leave it. But today, with the sun and the heat, they're very high in the water today, so it is a case of constantly feeding, constantly casting, and we've got to the point now where most chucks I am getting a bite now within sort of 5 or 10 seconds of it going in. It's brilliant fishing, really. I mean, we're the only ones on the lake today, which helps. But it wasn't easy to start with, really. But by constantly feeding, constantly working at it, it's now brilliant. We're getting to fish most chucks now, and they're rather large, some of them. Right, well, I'm just playing what's going to be the last carp of a brilliant few hours fishing. That's well over 150 pound big carp. Just shows what a devastating method it can be if you just get those few simple key points right. Proper setup, think about your feeding, learn to feed holding your rod and while you're playing fish. It's quite a simple method once you get those few key points right. So hopefully you've understood what I've said today, and go out and give it a go and have a good day's fishing yourself. Well, lovely fish to end on there. Please remember to like and subscribe to the Matrix YouTube channel, and hopefully you get out and catch a few like this.